great faith. Awake in God this hour, and come with me into the temple of interior illumination, apart only from the shell of things that seem to be. Enter then into thy great divine reality. Long ago, when I spake unto the brothers of the Holy Order of St. Francis, I stirred their hearts to the very depths, and they walked with me as in a cloistered consciousness. This day, when so many of you are gathered together in one place, individuals who have long pursued the spiritual path and whose hearts are touched with a desire for peace, I say then this night, let the holy drops of the interior peace of all those blessed monks and brothers of holy orders that have ever lived descend upon thee. Many of you blessed ones have cares of the world thrust upon you, and you are not a part of cloistered seclusion, but you abide full of outer responsibility, and yet trembling with the longing of the soul to find entrance into those spiritual fortresses of light which exist in the reality of your being, and yet have not always opened at your knock, and have not always been contacted when your heart and cup of being was filled with longing. Let us not engage in speculation as to the whys and the wherefores of this, but know that this night, by divine permission, we are able to hold a specific contact by karmic board decree with your own being and call you apart into a holy and cloistered seclusion that shall enable you to feel that mighty sunburst radiance that is both holy wisdom, holy power, holy love, and holy peace. Drink then this cup of peace which I bring. Drink then this Christ peace which I am. Drink then this opportunity of the hour, and know that the world's density has no power in thee this hour. I declare it, and it is done. The stillness of the angelic hosts is building a golden cylinder of light around this room from the moment that I descended to speak and stood here upon this spot. These blessed beings began the process of insulating this room and its content from the vibratory action of mankind's density. And now we ask that you also unite with me in thought and begin a process whereby you insulate yourselves in the temple and citadel of your own being from those thoughts and feelings which have hindered your progress for the years. There are some here troubled by unwanted thoughts, yearning within themselves to escape from those thoughts, desiring to know a greater measure of Christ's peace, desiring to feel a greater sense of compassion. Let us then accept the amplification of virtue which God provides this night. It is true that the full measure of this is in the soul of every man. But tonight, as I call you apart, and you come with me into the interior temple, you will walk down a cloistered arbor, and you will see the cells, as it were, in which sit the spiritual hermits that exist to the present hour, gathered there in separate communion with God, and commingling their love in higher dimensions, forms apart, but consciousness is merged. Consciousness is one. God in his great unfolding radiance then knows no dense separation, but enters in to the heart of the faithful to bring to them the sweet essence of the sun, to bring to them the gentle kiss of the wind, to bring to them the cleansing purity of the water element, to bring to man then the holy fire that stirs his regenerate nature as never before. And so I say, in the name of God's peace, let all here forsake outer consciousness, outer identity. Let all here come with me into this temple of being with all of its many separate rooms, and behold, in the central part of the temple, a mighty altar of light. Enshrined upon this altar is the simple, flickering flame of being, your being and mine, not a separate being, but one divine essence. And as we merge our substance with this flame, there leaps forth a ray of golden illumination, and all can be touched in this interior temple with the radiance of God's golden sunlight, and receive then, especially those who are worthy, a measured outpouring of holy wisdom's fount. Brothers of the golden robe, these candidates who plead for admission into the interior temple of holy wisdom are indeed they who have pursued the path for many a season. They have not grown faint, although they have trembled. They have sought, and they shall receive the full measure of that devotion which they have given. Precious ones, I give you now a cup of divine compassion. Will ye drink it with me this hour? This compassion is not akin to human sympathy. It is akin to divine understanding that knows the source of man's problems and plagues, knows the source of his density and lack of astuteness, knows the source of his troubles and his troubles that extend into his heart, his thought, and his feeling world. Drinking this compassion, give to mankind freedom. Give to mankind freedom to accept holy truth. Give them not the pressure then of your thought, but give them the goodness of your love. Take now then this cup which I bear, the cup of peace, and in this interior temple set apart, drink into God's peace. God's peace is like a rushing wind. You are aware that at the eye of the hurricane there is a great calm. When you draw then close to this mighty inrush of cosmic peace, you will know when you have the feeling of release from all tension and dissatisfaction of the outer consciousness, that you have reached the eye of the hurricane of God's wondrous peace. In the stillness and the calmness of his heart and mind, you will possess your souls and expand the light that is in them until the world will not remember you as you were, to know you as you are, a being of wondrous light and love. And so then tonight, in this interior temple of being, your own being, we will ask that there occur an action whereby the sunburst of cosmic victory is released there to your vision. As the sacred Eucharist or host upon the altar of the church, so the sunburst of the being of God in all his holy wisdom is revealed in Christ's loveliness to the eyes of the beholder. This stainless, holy wisdom is the golden rule of the temple beautiful, the interior temple of your being. There is here then only the snow-white dove descending in its great unfolding radiance and bringing to your consciousness the feeling of the Holy Spirit. This is in the interior temple of your being. The brothers of the golden robe are with us now, and as they gather close around, raising the canopy of their cape in such a manner as to enfold and cover their heads, you will see that they are drawing holy wisdom around themselves and gathering the folds of their robe with their hands, clutching then the fabric thereof and holding it before their heart. Their identities, their individualities seem lost to view, and they are as golden flames standing round about you. Holy brothers whose identity is merged in the great God flame of all life. This is as it should be. Mankind's souls are like shining dewdrops selected from the sea of life and lifted up, glistening in the sunlight, kissed by the wind, purified by the reflected glory of heaven upon this wondrous globe of watered substance. The emotional body of man must feel a release of all tensions. Therefore I say to you in the name of holy wisdom this night, take all tensions, all dissatisfactions with yourself and with others, all feelings of discomfort, all feelings of grief, of past problems, difficulties, and troubles, and cast them forth from your being. Cast them forth upon the stones, the cobbled stones that are before you as you walk in this interior temple, and know that you will be permitted to do this, for there are they who have volunteered to take up the burdens you cast forth and to cast them into the sacred fire. And if you can lay these burdens down and not stoop to pick them up again, you can have a permanent healing this night of these conditions so unwanted by your person. But this cannot be unless you receive it in faith, unless you stand in full faith in this interior temple of being. This cannot be unless you accept the knowing of the Father's love into your own heart, unless in the full acceptance of this measure of heaven's holy wisdom you recognize that this was a God design in this Golden Age conference, whereby the individuals who gave their energy faithfully to the ascended masters could receive the blessing of a specific release which would enable them to go forth unto mankind and assist in the great harvest of souls which is coming forth now, as the fields in their whiteness express man's need, and God in his great generosity responds to mankind and declares that it is I who will make peace between the divided hearts of men. For it is in entering in soul consciousness and immortal essence into this interior temple of being that I will enfold you in the mantle of my radiance, the holy wisdom, the mighty compassion of the ages, that gives to every individual who will such holy wisdom that he can become a light in the world, a city that is set upon a hill that cannot be hid. And though men direct arrows at you because of the distinguished virtue emanating from you, it will be as naught, for the shield of faith which God will place around you shall enable you to walk over the consciousness of mankind in a specific state of elevation. Elevation of soul must come in this interior temple, for you are not assembled here for a mere outer worship or a form thing, but you have entered into the soul of the wind. You have entered into the soul of the sun. You have entered into the soul of all of the flowers of the world, known and unknown. You have absorbed the holy essence of the immortelles, known unto Saint Germain as those unfading floral essences created immortally by angelic hands. You will absorb in this interior temple of your being the necessary requisites for this hour to make it God's shining hour, when you go forth to a victory which you have hitherto not accomplished. And this victory which I speak of now is an invisible action, a greater action than that which is manifest. For that which men see is but a portion of that which you shall externalize. For as you spin with this holy flame of wisdom the immortal garments of the eternal essence, you will find that revelations are unfolding before your consciousness and the screen of your mind, which you dare not communicate to mankind, not to a single one, or breathe a word of it to any living soul. And you will recall the words of St. Paul when he spoke and said, I knew a man in Christ 14 years ago who was caught up unto the third heaven and heard unspeakable words which it is not lawful for a man to utter. In the spirit of infinite compassion and the charge of holy wisdom which I am releasing to you this night, there is a specific action of every brother of the golden robe upon this planetary body. Many of these were with me in Assisi when I ministered unto the people and builded there a sanctum before men. But the sanctum sanctorum which I builded in my heart was a habitation of the vast spirit of the universal architect. It was the self-same design that abides in thee. It is not alone in me, nor would I be content to be the only one who could give away all that God had given me of mortal substance and receive in return all the immortal substance of his blessed being. I deem myself then not a Pavalero, but I deem myself the richest of all mankind. And I did so then, for I recognized that in the interior temple of man's being is the riches of the Spirit, which cannot fade away, nor be lost, nor be destroyed, nor be altered, nor be changed. I tell you, blessed ones, there are many examples before mankind of human forgery, but no one can forge their way by a certificate of inaccuracy into the eternal kingdom. For all that which mankind do with the pen of their existence, writing upon the scroll of immortal being, is there until it is made clear in the holy light of karmic virtue, whereby every act returning to mankind for redemption comes again to him as a jot and tittle of the law, which cannot be removed then from his being, except he offer it unto God by externalizing a requisite cosmic virtue to replace that which has been so subtly ignorant and so subtly evil. O mankind of earth, the interior temple of thy existence is builded around thee, not in thy fleshly form alone, but is engraved in thy mighty being, a tabernacle that reaches above the stars and places beneath thy feet the waning moon of mankind's emotional struggles, giving him the crown of the Sun Prince Michael upon his head, the virtues of God control, whereby he, seated then in full God control in the chariot of being, holds the reins thereof in perfect God design, observing every obstruction in his pathway before he runs over it headlong and hitherto, and seeing the clear way, the road that leads through the sacred fire essence to his own freedom. Mankind, you have an opportunity. It is not taken from thee. The great goddess of opportunity, with all of her holy wisdom, stands this night in the atmosphere above this room, extending then specific karmic virtue to those of you who will accept it, whereby new opportunities shall unfurl before you in the days to come that you did not dream existed. For we still have the power of God to extend a gratuity to mankind, and although ascended beings are scarce recognized in a relative sense by the many that occupy the platform of this earth, those of you who know our compassion and love will understand that it is our desire to extend to you every possible bounty which the great cosmic law will permit, so that as students of the light, your days ahead upon this planetary body may be days in which you may shed more and more all elements of human discord and build around yourself now in this seemingly late hour all the purity for which your soul longs. Such is the compassion of heaven. And now, as I muse upon the wonders of the interior temple of being, I recall some of the struggles of individuals that I have known. I also recall a cobbler who dwelt long ago in Europe, who was mocked and scoffed at by the mankind of his city because he insisted upon perusing the sacred scriptures. The children of that city used to gather and throw stones at him even as he sat in holy prayer. And the strange thing was, in this specific case, the parents did not seem to care or restrain the action of their children, for it came to pass that the parents felt, as did the children, that his countenance was very ugly. And it was so from an outer standpoint, for he lacked physical beauty and the beauty of a kindly face, but his heart was full of love toward God. And it is an interesting thing that this man was later embodied and entered into the holy orders of the church and became a patriarch and prince of the church. And it came to pass that every one of these young men in this town who had thrown the rocks and stones at him all became priests of the cloth, and they all were placed under him in his diocese. And it came to pass that many of these came to him to petition him for spiritual assistance, and he gave it lovingly with a pure heart. And so it came to pass that in due course of time, these individuals, now in a new embodiment and grown men, came to love him, and they returned at a later time all of the love which he had poured out upon them in a time when they had not recognized his love and had but cast stones upon him. So then I say to every one of you, although at times you permit yourselves to feel a feeble connection with your presence, to recognize that this is not the holy law, this is not the holy intent, this is not an act of righteousness. I ask you then, tonight, to take your hands and to gather them close to your heart and to feel in your heart and around your emotional being the pressure of every wrong thought that is there, that has ever been there and yet remains to be untransmuted. Close your hands around about those tightly and draw them forth from you as far as you can, and then release all of this substance into the hands of the violet flame angels who await in the interior temple of being to take this burden from your life. Give it to them lovingly and gladly. You will not miss parting with it, I am sure. And know that if you will not take it up again, that it shall not trouble you, for God, in his great love, shall steer you around many of the tormenting situations that otherwise could be deceptive and cause you great distress. But there is a holy purpose in this offering tonight from my heart. And that purpose is that as compassion descends in torrents upon you, and when the veil is parted, and you begin to see in this interior temple of your being the very holy strands of God's radiance shining forth from you, and you begin to know that other world of which we are a part, that precious world where the temple of man's true being is revealed, and you feel the sacred fire core in all its pulsating essence, and you contact the heavenly beings in a more than ordinary manner. Be not aloof to the world to the extent of not shewing compassion to them. Give them understanding, not exaltation. Do not exalt your ego or seek to bring them to grovel at your feet, but let your love be poured out upon them as in holy orders, recognizing not the differences of men, but the similitude of God in the hearts of men. So shall the tenets of my holy order also come alive again in this day and age, and the Christ shall be glorified. and the Christ shall be magnified, and the Christ in you shall expand, and the holy threefold flame shall expand, and holy wisdom will come again to the screen of life, will come to the fore in you. And so God, in his mighty compassion, will make thee an instrument of his peace. And so God, in his holy compassion, will make thee an active participant in his kingdom, a holy thing born of cosmic flame. In this interior temple of being, if you have discovered that which I long for you to discover, you will long muse upon the realities that you have discovered, and you will long muse upon the unrealities which you had previously thought were so real. Let these dragons then be cast out of your consciousness, back into the lair of nothingness, and let the Christ image be enthroned, exalted, lifted up. May the spirit of the great white brotherhood surge through thee, now and always, in a release of holy illumination's flame. And may this Golden Age conference go down in history, cosmic history, as the beginning in many hearts of a new sense of righteousness, stemming from the old sense of the creative image that in the beginning shone forth the holy goodness of God. You cannot change that if you will. You can dwell in the house of flesh and transgress God's laws, but you can never change the pristine image which he himself holds immaculately for all. Precious ladies and gentlemen, I desire not to remain here until every one in this place shall share the same thought that bids me welcome. Not for a moment, for 15 minutes, for a half hour, but so long as I desire to speak. I thank you for your time and attention, and I bless you and seal you in the name of the cosmic Christ in the interior temple of your being. May you dwell there in the house of God forever. Good evening. in a rainbow action of the seven spheres, I am come to seal the world in its immaculate God design, the wondrous outworking of the imagery of immortality that descends to this earth and is informed by divine grace to the magnification of the power of light and an extension of cosmic purity into the density patterns of earth, causing them to crumble by a mighty fiat of light that shall dissolve for all time all of that action which mankind have in ignorance created and sustained, that the purity of heaven's design and the magnificent pillars of wisdom from the eternal temples and focuses of light may be established upon earth to the glory of God and for the freedom of all who breathe the air of this planet and choose to sustain by the breath of the Holy Spirit the power of God and His light, to work for light, to sustain light, to love the light, to enter into the light, and to be the fullness of all that the light intends mankind to express. I am come this day with a celestial buoyancy of the eternal spheres to externalize within your consciousness a most delicate sense of cosmic beauty. Those of you familiar with the filigree designs common to mankind in the arts and crafts will understand that our radiance and patterns are more delicate than mankind have ever imagined and are a manifestation of the designs wrought by angelic hands long before this system of worlds was ever fashioned, and radiating from that magnificent star, Sirius, bringing to the earth then the voice of eternal power and faith in the cosmic plan of universal substance brought into corporeal form for the purpose of giving to mankind free will that they may claim their immortal inheritance, making then this corporeal substance immortal. I am come this day to let you all know that the love of heaven sustains you now as it has in the past, and will never, ever relinquish its hold upon the immortal flame spark that is within you, which must gather a greater intensity of cosmic momentum in order to give you your freedom to shatter the bonds that have caused mankind's houses of clay to sustain many undesirable momentums and perpetuate through the ages the monstrous frauds which mankind have worked against one another without regard for the purity of life. I call to your attention now then a specific life stream who dwelt in the land of India several years ago, namely Mahatma Gandhi, whose life was forfeited through an assassin's action, and who is now awaiting a most specific act of grace from the karmic board, which will enable him to complete the cycle of his life upon this planet. He is expected then to embody within a short time and to bring to the entire world the type of freedom which he manifested long ago in India
at the beginning of his life's mission and carried to full fruition on behalf of the great white brotherhood, throwing off the yoke and tyranny of England, so that the Indian people could establish their own country and have their own crafts in operation, affording a specific type of cottage industries which was able to be an example to the world of cooperation between the hearts of mankind without the benefit of mechanization. And yet this is not the Western intent for and on behalf of mankind as established by the hierarchy. For the intent of the hierarchy for Western man is to give as much freedom as possible to mankind to engage in cultural pursuits, that the pursuit of happiness here may become an accomplishment, a fait accompli on behalf of mankind. Unfortunately, the world today takes advantage of every such opportunity to engage in the pursuit of some outer action which does not give mankind the blessings which the Spirit of life intends them to have and to hold. We call to your attention that cosmic balance is the call of the hour and is necessary in the golden age. Mankind must recognize that just as they do not give all of their energy to spirituality, so they must not give all of their energy to materiality. Unfortunately, mankind sometimes forget the enormous investment which they make in outer world conditions and the very small portion of their time which they give to the great cosmic powers of light. And yet mankind gaze expectantly for the end of their specific embodiment, hoping that they will ascend into our sphere of cosmic action. I wonder, blessed ones, if you realize the intense cosmic preparation that is necessary for mankind to have in order to function as a being of light. I wonder if you realize how that you are here embodied upon this planet in order to obtain a greater understanding of life and its perfection and an expansion of your energy into cosmic dimensions. Unless then you shall take advantage of this wondrous opportunity, it will be impossible for you to enter directly into that full measure of cosmic participation which we intend to give to you, and you will find that the lost opportunities which you lose here in the world of form will necessitate that you enter into cosmic schoolrooms even after your ascension, before you are able to take and assume the specific initiative office which the cosmos would bestow upon you individually. Therefore, lost opportunity will indeed come to you for redemption, and there is no possibility of a man entering into the fullness of his cosmic mission until he has served the necessary cosmic apprenticeship, whether here upon this planet or in the higher octaves of light. Therefore, every hour that is whiled away in a so-called waste of time is somewhat an abortion of opportunity and the gift of life. I speak specifically to those students of light who understand the law to a certain marked degree, that they will realize that they have accepted human creation into their worlds unwittingly, and have unfortunately been imbued with the idea that they are entitled to a life of their own after they have already committed their life unto God in the most holy vow-taking at inner levels. Of course, the cosmos, in all of its great quality of mercy, gazes upon these individuals with the utmost measure of cosmic compassion and in no way desires to impose a burden upon mankind. In fact, I will tell you that if you find that the vows you have taken are impossible for you to fulfill, we will let you off, as it were, in your own words, in the same manner that a nun or a priest, petitioning the higher councils of their own hierarchy upon your planet, may be returned to the outer world to once again walk among men shorn of the vows and authority which they received from on high. I call this to your attention that none may feel the pressure of cosmic necessity to the point of causing them distress, for it is not our intent to cause distress to any part of life, but to let you feel that infinite sense of the delicate balance of love from the heart of God that pours out like the waves of the sea and kindles within you, as is painted upon a seashell, the cosmic iridescence of the rainbow rays of God, and causes there to occur within the force field of your being of a great trembling action of cosmic light, which makes you aware in the densities of mankind's outer creation of the mighty power and authority of your higher being, your own mighty I Am presence, with all of its splendid electronic essence poured out without limit upon you. Now the mankind of earth, who do not understand the law as you do, are not able to recognize in this offering from my heart the self-same understanding which you will gain. But if they will peruse these pages, and I refer to my words after they are recorded in a typewritten form, they will come through study and an infusion of our ray to understand all of the lack which they presently have in their mental body and feeling world of ascended Master love and light. And now I call to the angels of my band, the radiant beings from Sirius, and also those who are embodied in form, who have an affinity to our ray, and also to those radiant beings who are with me at times upon the island of Suva, to radiate into the atmosphere of this planet the celestial presence of life, which will enable mankind to see the expansion of the God flame through mortal substance. For mortal substance in its pristine state came directly forth from the power of light itself, and therefore there is nothing visible to the outer eye that does not also have at the very center a spark of the white fire substance from God's own heart. Therefore, precious ones, you must recognize that all life is to be hallowed and set free from all of the disobedient energies which mankind have imposed upon it, causing then the world to exist in an era of bondage, whereas the infinite plan was to give mankind their cosmic freedom several hundred years ago. But because the world has not prepared itself, the cosmic timetables have been revised again and again in order to afford as an act of mercy greater grace to the earth and its evolutions. And now you stand once again upon the threshold of a new cosmic push, when the great cosmic emissaries are entering the highways of the infinite life and are pulsating through the atmospheres of the higher spheres and moving on cosmic highways, coming then into this solar system and out through the rays of your own physical sun to descend earthward upon ladders of radiant light. These celestial beings that will flood forth into the atmosphere of this planet carrying the full power and authority of our ray, will assist you immeasurably in transmuting human density and giving to the earth the great outpicturing of the freedom age as envisioned by your own beloved Saint Germain, whose dedication is known to us everywhere in universal consciousness. I call to your attention that this blessed avatar, this great cosmic being whom you call the God of freedom, is known everywhere in the entire cosmos, known and unknown by mankind. That we love him, that we revere him, that we are in constant contact with him and all of the chelas who serve under his ray of cosmic freedom. And we hope that you will assist him in a mightier outpouring of love to the heart of God than ever before. And I remind you that you are upon the track of time. And I remind you that the eternal presence is not measured in the sense of mankind's ideas and concepts of time. I remind you that you can take, through the power of light, one single second and expand it until it seems to be all of eternity. I remind you also that through the power of the light of God, you can take that which seems to be all eternity and cause it to be compressed into a moment of time. And therefore, in the state of dreams, mankind in a mere split second are able to live, as it were, an entire lifetime and realize many things through the directing ray of ascended master authority poured out in some cases upon individuals who are directly connected to our ray. I call this to your attention, for the evolutions presently using this earth as a planetary home are not all from the same origin in one sense of the word. I do not refer, of course, to the great source of all life, but I refer to the divergence of life as it has been dispersed in aeons of time in the past throughout universal substance, having embodied upon various planets and systems of worlds, being connected with various evolutions that were then developing, laggard bands then roving the universe and descending to various places where individuals would receive them in the hope that through the upliftment of light within their hearts, the laggard bands could be encouraged to emulate the saintly characters then occupying the earthly platforms, because of the fact that mankind did not absorb and radiate enough light out to these laggard bands, but held them at times in some regard of suspicion because of their failure on other systems. There was then some accountability to the mankind of earth of whom so much was expected, and therefore those individuals that we expected to release through contact with the elder men who occupied this planet did not occur, and therefore mankind are to the present hour embodied here and embodied also in a crystallized concept and state of decay, whereby the mighty power of the divine image is not extended into all of mankind's action, but only in part. And therefore St. Paul did declare in his day, now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. And so I say to you today, let us shatter by divine intent the outer concepts of men and flash forth our star and our ray upon the earth, that the power of the great central sun may evoke a ray of freedom for everyone, that all may share according to their capacity to receive in the infinite degree of progress which the earth is hereby given, as we descend now with the light of 1,000 suns to bless mankind in this day and age, in a hope that I feel is not futile, that an awakening will come not only to individuals, but to the entire planet and its evolutions. In the name of divine love, I thank you, and I shall not remain here any longer than enough time to bid you adieu, for I have a tremendous action to engage in on another system of worlds, and I am called away quite suddenly by the need of the hour. I hope that you will understand why someday and will recognize that your thoughts also are charged with responsibility, and that you individually have a responsibility to show appreciation in a greater measure than has occurred in the past. For although you have thought that you showed forth enough appreciation, I tell you it has been but a thimbleful when it should have been a barrelful. Ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the unfolding light of your own cosmic identity, I bless you with the infinite ray of my love, and I bid you adieu. Gracious heart friends, as you offered your songs of light to me this night in praise, I was somewhat of a mind to reflect upon various other occasions when in the past we have beheld the angelic devas inspiring precious melodies upon mankind, as this one was imposed through my own ministrations upon Johann Strauss long ago in Vienna. And so I am somewhat tonight meditating upon the precious concept of the precious devas as they distribute their consciousness among mankind, holding in their hands little objects of light which may be compared to a cosmic sparkler, and bring a feeling of buoyancy and joy to the hearts of men, whereas the hearts of men are not aware where this surge of joy comes from, or whither it is born when it departs their world. In a sense, then, of cosmic grace, it is necessary for all students of light to reflect upon the wonderful feelings of joy and happiness which are a part of the release of the very life force of the Holy Spirit to mankind, the inbreathing of the mighty power of the Holy Spirit, the great cosmic breath which mankind inhale into their very heart substance, is indeed a precious gift which mankind do not always realize, but which they all absorb and receive nourishment from. It is our intent then tonight to bring to the consciousness of the entire earth this very night a greater feeling of the buoyancy and release which accompanies the ministration of the violet flame angels, that mankind may feel a more than ordinary surge of God happiness as a result of the release of your energies called forth this day on behalf of the sacred cause. Take note, precious ones, that heaven is never neglectful of the service which mankind renders to the light, nor will heaven ever be, for we are most alert and concerned
with mankind's dedication to the cause of freedom, for we know that as there is a surge of dedication and the amplification of that dedication, so many hearts will be blessed. And I ask you now, in the holy name of freedom, if it would not be a cause of delight within your own being if you knew this night that every living soul upon the planet could reflect the pristine purity of their own God identity. O blessed ones, what a cause for rejoicing this would be to the angelic hosts and to those precious life streams who with me compose the ascended masters dedicated to the freedom of mankind and the lifting up of this planet to its rightful place in the planetary scheme, in this system of worlds, and also involves itself in the freeing of all laggard bands, those who from other systems of worlds were deposited here in the great hope that they would win their freedom. Now I know that mankind today, immersed in a very involved theology, coupled with a great and lengthy tradition, may find it difficult to extricate themselves from the interwoven strands of this tradition, this philosophy, and these concepts, to behold the purity of the great God design which is woven in ascended master law. And so, ever so often the ascended masters do not so much dwell upon the concepts of theology, but, blessed ones, they dwell upon the release of ascended master light and love. By the radiation of our love and our light, we counteract man's involvement in those things which he cannot yet understand, simply because he has not dwelled upon the thought long enough to be able to understand it. I think those of you who have great internal perception will clearly see how that even the means to add sums in school is not always accomplished in one short year, but requires the involvement of the tiny mind of the child until it has mastered the problems of arithmetic, geography, and other related subjects comprising the curriculum of mankind in the school systems of the world. Well then, precious ones, the same is true of mankind's own probing the mysteries of heaven and the mysteries of universal law. Mankind have for centuries and generations conceived of this world as a central arena where the entire universe itself revolved around it. They have considered it then the hub of creation, and it is difficult for them to recognize that it is but a cosmic speck of light in the midst of myriad systems of worlds. Therefore, this has made it most difficult to bring forth the great eternal truths to mankind, for there is a relationship of the life wave of man's own mental involvement, which does hinder and hold back the expression of those advanced members of the race who are in tune with our octave and draw directly from heaven the perceptions of the ascended masters and the cosmic hierarchy. I am aware also that the great karmic board is relatively little known by mankind in the outer world, although they do recognize that a day of judgment ought to come and will come. They do not clearly understand its administration. When they are told that precious individual life streams, once embodied here in the world of form as they are, and then ascended into realms of light to occupy positions of authority upon the great karmic board, it comes as somewhat a surprise to them, for they have considered for many years that God is as one individual, located in some pristine and pure place of the universe where all is radiant light, and they cannot somehow find it easy to absorb the concept that God has distributed his power and his right, his authority and his light
to many radiating centers and intelligences. And yet, in early Genesis it is recorded, "Let us go down now and make man in our image and after our likeness." Mankind then do well not to hold to all of these traditions and concepts, but to keep an open mind and heart if they would attune with the wonders of heaven. And therefore tonight, as I am speaking to those of you who for a long period of time have understood ascended master law, I am also directing my thoughts to those who are contacting this activity of light for the first time or for the first few times, that they may understand that we are compassionate and do not expect too much of them, nor demand of them aught that they are not willing to give. For the ascended masters, in their great charge of light, released on mighty light rays of cosmic purity, carry a tremendous gift of cosmic understanding. You must remember, blessed ones, that the entire world, in all of its density, does lie in a state of confusion and apathy. Mankind today requires stirring. They must be stirred as never before by great cosmic forces. And therefore, we have determined upon this occasion, throughout this class, and even on this night and this occasion, to release a more than ordinary dispensation of cosmic light to the planet, which will require all of mankind's energy to balance, so that they will then be required by the great law to give account for this release. And this comes, blessed ones, as a result of tremendous calls for light on behalf of the students of this law and others of mankind who have invoked in holy prayer assistance from the Godhead. The great karmic board then is disposed to release this energy through the power of the violet flame angels, and also through the power of the angels of blue lightning. And it is also a foregone conclusion, I am sure you will recognize, that we shall utilize the angels of cosmic purity, although they are not always the most popular of heaven's band. Mankind today continue to strive and to struggle against their own karma and against the human creation which they have externalized throughout the centuries. They are not always willing to recognize their own accountability and responsibility for all that they have done. And somehow or other, it is as though the universe itself exists in a state of imbalance, whereby they feel that all of life is, as it were, set against them, and they must push it to one side. Let me tell you, precious ones, that there is no need for this thinking. There is no need for mankind to have this feeling. For God, in his great eternal solicitude and kindness, his magnificent felicity on behalf of mankind, does bear the greatest of love for each expression of himself, no matter how far that expression of himself may have wandered into the world of form density. Therefore, O mankind of earth, I say to you in the name of cosmic grace, release and relinquish the feeling of distinction that sets you apart as a target for the malicious energies of the universe, and recognize that rather you are a target for love directed from the heart of God, freedom. You are a target for love directed from every angelic being who does indeed watch over the destiny of your precious life stream, that you may win your immortal freedom in this day and be yourselves a part of our holy band. Precious ones, I am certain that you recognize that as the tide in the affairs of men moves forward, you yourself are moving forward also as upon an endless moving belt. And it will come to pass that one day you will tumble off of that belt into the arms of eternity. And when this occasion arises and comes to each one of you, it is either an opportunity for your own ascension in the light, or your being taken to higher octaves of light, or in some cases being bound to the earth itself by reason of mankind's density. And therefore all mankind ought to recognize these possibilities which are imminent to all life embodied upon the planet and comes with the swiftness of flight. Precious ones, then, take advantage of the opportunities which you are given, inasmuch as my beloved consort is the precious goddess of opportunity, Portia, I call to your attention that she herself is willing to extend to every life stream the fullness of their own cosmic opportunity to be given special grace in this day and age according to their calls to light. But faith is required in this day as in ages past, and this faith must be externalized in the light of holy reason. Mankind sometimes expect that faith shall automatically generate itself within their heart, and they do not recognize that it is a gift of God, also to be sought after, and once obtained, to be respected and used as a method of invocation. When men have a surge of cosmic faith within the aura of their own being, it gives them an immense power and favor with heaven. And if there be any favoritism on the part of heaven, it is faith. For without faith it is impossible to please God. And you will recall, precious ones, that Abraham actually externalized recognition from the very heart of God because of his faith. Therefore you must behold that the germ of faith and its expansion is a wonderful aid and assistance to every life stream who will win their freedom. It is one thing, precious ones, to have faith, and another thing to be without it. Those individuals who are without faith are often alone in consciousness, and they feel this aloneness with a stinging, biting, and searing pain. This is mental anguish, which sometimes drives them to the brink where they actually come in contact with a suicide entity, that malicious human sewer which mankind sometimes tie into and cast themselves into the dregs of human destruction. Inasmuch as it is not our wish, and inasmuch as I have saved while embodied, and since my embodiment, untold numbers of individuals from this self-destructive action, I would call to your attention tonight that the students of this light have an enormous responsibility to actually invoke the flames of freedom for the destruction of the suicide entity and the lifting of the veil of ignorance from the mind of man that causes them to feel a separation from their own divine presence. Now then, in the holy name of freedom, I say, as we prepare to exercise our divine authority and release to mankind the tremendous power of the violet flame, blue flame, and angels of purity, I ask all of you to also assist me by focusing your God flame in this room in such a manner as to assist me in drawing forth the energy from heaven that will be a dispensation to the earth. I know that those of you who are schooled in the higher teachings will understand that when I, Saint Germain, ask for the assistance of mankind embodied in form, it is for a holy and cosmic purpose, but one which I do not think you will deny me, inasmuch as you have not in times past, and I speak to many of you, and I would to God to all of you, I therefore feel that you will give me a more than ordinary assistance this night, and therefore the radiant energy belt that will be extended from this room will be for the salvation of the planet and for the upliftment of every man, woman, and child to the point in life where they are able to sense the radiation of the cosmic power of life everywhere and are able to feel those little tiny beings of the elements with their cosmic sparklers dashing to and fro throughout the earth and bringing feelings of joy and cosmic exuberance everywhere in the name of the Holy Spirit. Won't you please be seated? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your wondrous testimony to stand in acknowledgement of the gift which I ask from your heart. And now then, as we summon the energies of heaven and draw forth this tremendous cosmic charge, I say, let us all give voice to the wondrous fiats of light and testify with me to the need of the hour and its externalization. Will you join me in full voice in invoking from God's heart this assistance? I am, I am, I am. I am, I am, I am. Invoking from the very heart of God. Invoking from the very heart of God the fullness of his love and light. The fullness of his love and light. On behalf of the earth's planetary evolutions. On behalf of the earth's planetary evolutions. And I call now And I call now to the violet flame angels, to the violet flame angels, to release the substance of the sacred fire, into the atmosphere of the entire planetary body. It is done. And now, we call to the angels of blue lightning. To send forth the arrows of their love. Into the density of human creation. Wherever it is manifesting. To pierce to utter destruction the suicide entity. And to bring the holy light of freedom to mankind. And I call to those presently unpopular who shall become popular. Angels of cosmic purity. To shed the light of their cosmic purity. Across the entire face of the earth. And to saturate mankind. With a magnificent charge. Of their God identity. This I decree. In the holy name. Of that great being which I am. The one essence of life. My own mighty I am presence. I accept this done right now. With full power. It is done. Gracious ladies and gentlemen, you do not know the immense release that has now been accomplished, and it shall be carried by the angels of the four winds of heaven to the four corners of the earth, to the uttermost, and shall bring to mankind the mighty tide of light for this age, which is destined to assist them in a limitless way in finding their own freedom. I bow to the light of divine majesty within your heart. I bow to the light of divine majesty within every angelic being's heart. I bow to the light of divine majesty in the heart of the great central sun. And I call forth in the name of infinite freedom these flames in memory of the seven mighty Elohim, in memory of the seven mighty archangels, and in memory of the seven Johans of the rays. Ladies and gentlemen, with the grace of my heart and my being, I salute you, but I tell you, I have much more to tell you, which I shall wait another time to do. But I have a message for each one who will receive it, which I would love to whisper into your inner ear. Will you then make a different attempt, a more valiant effort to receive my words? You can if you try. I thank you and bid you good evening.
Golden days in the sunshine of a happy youth, golden days full of innocence and full of truth. In our hearts we remember them all else above. Golden days, days of youth and love. How we laughed with a gaiety that had no sting, looking back through memory's haze. We will know life has nothing sweeter than its springtime. Golden days when we're young, golden days.
Gracious God beings, as I draw near to you this afternoon in the hallowed presence of your God identity, it is charged with the sacred flame of illumination which has been guarded so long by my beloved consort for mankind, and under the direction of the power of light and the planetary logos. Precious ones, the value of sustaining a focus of light is scarce realized by the unillumined, for their hearts have not yet been touched by the sacred rule of divine order. Divine order touches the force field of man's own being, and all things within that force field become arranged according to the cosmic pattern. And when this is done, there is sustained there in that individual an action of God dominion. This dominion is a city of light, a place most hallowed, set upon a hill, which all who behold may gaze at and adore, or wonder about. But I call to your attention the Master's words of long ago. Behold, ye despisers, and wonder and perish, for I work a mighty work in your day. Know then, O precious life streams, whose devotion is poured out to Saint Germain, that if you are unmindful of the holy wisdom which guided him to his ascension, you will not be able to reap the wondrous tangible harvest which he has envisioned for every student of light, whose sincerity, as sterling or gold, has its own radiance of cosmic integrity. Now in this day and age, when knowledge is such a premium to mankind, it is a very curious thing, beloved ones, that with all the studying which mankind do, they so seldom come to that place where understanding, lying like a gift in their hands, is the great holy truth of God, whose luminosity has made ascended beings in all past ages, and will do so to this present hour. Mankind must then hear the ancient precepts again and again until sufficient penetration occurs, whereby the inscription is at hand in the moment of need. For mankind, precious ones, so often enjoy the hearing of the word, but the doing seems far from them at the specific moment and instance when the tests and trials of life, manifesting according to karmic purpose and according to cosmic test, do come. Let all then who will open the doorway of their hearts to the getting of holy wisdom, but let that wisdom as declared of old be the getting of understanding. Without understanding, the people may have minds filled with facts until it seems that all of the libraries of the world could scarce contain the great compendium of facts which mankind hold in brain and thought, and yet in a sort of careless thoughtlessness they do not perceive the unity of life underlying the diversity of manifestation. And so in this day, utilizing the power of the feminine ray, I am calling unto the children of spiritual grace throughout the planet, regardless of what outer affiliation they may have been drawn to recognize the one Spirit of truth that gives to all the self-same golden rule of conduct. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And so, write this law in the acts of your life. You have read of the acts of the apostles of the Christ. Read now of your own acts recorded in the book of life, and perceive for yourselves what mark you may make against the sacred pages. You must recognize, precious ones, that the God Meru and myself have, through sustaining our flame and focus here at Lake Titicaca, held a mighty radiance for the youth of the world and all who would to drink into the holy wisdom of God. This is not an ordinary concept, but a most extraordinary concept, for it embodies the flowing forth of energies of regeneration, which in charging mankind will cause them to change in their inner internal nature until the outer self must follow suit. Blessed ones, the charioteer must rule, and not the 4 horsemen. The 4 horses themselves, dashing forth as the 4 lower bodies of mankind, are not capable of rule. Rule must be in the hands of the charioteer, and he must hold in hand the reins of authority that shall control the emotional body when all of earth seems to declare to the contrary, which will control the mind when mental turmoil and confusion occupies the thought only temporarily, which will hold in check the turning wheels of memory, bringing to the fore at the most inopportune moment a thought to stir the emotions and the thoughts of men and set them awry, as it were. When peace ought to reign, confusion then reigns, and discord comes to the fore, whereas purity retreats. As this should never be, I say, O ladies and gentlemen, in this holy day, when so much is now at stake. When mankind await as never before the release of great spiritual power that shall sweep the earth into its age of regeneration, its golden age of cosmic Christ victory. Let not the children of the light, those who are so able by reason of cosmic study, deny to the mankind of earth the precious gift which lies within thy hand. I wish that all of you who are able and understand the import of my words would undertake to sponsor one or many children of men. I refer not merely to babes in arms, but also to individuals who have promise and hope and to exhibit some degree of hope and willingness to be taught. See then if you can stand before the lords of karma and invoke for them a touch of heaven's radiance upon their brow. See then if you can be illuminators of one or more of the children of men, taking them, as it were, beneath the wing of your divine authority. I ask that you take warning to my words and do not attempt to impose your will upon them or enslave them to the outer human self, as though you would be a great teacher bearing them the tidings of good things, but rather understand that this is an act of divinity, and the will of God must be glorified in this act. The sponsoring must be done through the approval of your holy Christ self and through your own mighty God presence. And then the individual stands such a much greater chance of being accepted by heaven and of being exalted into the dimensions of authority which we seek to bring to you this day. Now, as I speak to you, I am thinking also behind my thought of the wondrous unfoldment that can occur in the natural kingdom through opening your spiritual eyes to the degree where you are able to perceive the tiny elementals at work as they build the floral exquisites which grace this land and many parts of the world. I would call to your attention the beautiful purity cupped within the heart of floral offerings. I would call to your attention the distilled essence that is locked within the fragrance of the flowers. And I would call to your attention of how heaven has actually distilled its purity and placed it there to attract not only the bees, but the beeness of man, the nature of man that is related to his divine presence, that causes an ascending flame to pulsate upon the heart altar, and shows the meaning and purpose of life, not as one of tyranny or of despotism, but as of one great grace poured out upon the altar of being. Then you see the children of this land may assemble as the children of Israel did long ago before the ark of the covenant, and dance for joy in the streets of the land, garlands of flowers in their hands. They shall rejoice at one another's victory. In this present hour, the dark green stains of jealousy mar so much of that which could be perfect, and it is utterly despicable that this also manifests near the fringe of the very border of God's kingdom, sometimes unwittingly in the very hearts of those individuals whom the masters seek to use and to bless with the purity of their being. Now, I do not say this for any reason of condemnation, but only in order to bring about in future days and in this present hour, a renewed understanding of the purity of God. You know, blessed ones, in your heart of hearts, that you cannot deceive the infinite powers of light. And yet somehow, when caught in the subtle nets of mankind's outer thought, you are sometimes swept unwittingly to the very brink of egoism, and touching upon that, do not recognize this maelstrom which sucks mankind down into its density and causes them to engage in that clash of mind with mind and being with being, which is far from the portals of light. Now, precious ones, in this day and age, as St. Germain seeks to enfold you in a greater radiance, it is ever so essential that all that mankind has forgotten or has heard so often that their ears have become dull must recognize again and again and again until it becomes a chaliced action, an action of the fire element of their being, an action of light that cannot submit to the dictums of the outer and of human creation. And so this day, as I come charged with holy truth, I say to you that many of the angels of illumination, which ordinarily sit around this focus, are actually building an amphitheater of light around this place where you are assembled. And this beautiful offering in its entirety resembles a golden lotus, so that high up in the upper atmosphere above this room, millions of angelic beings are assembled all the way back to the great central sun, and a mighty ray of golden illumination is pouring down from the very chalice of God's holy will, so that the will of God, the faith of God, and the power of God, the white fire core of the ray of illumination, are now being made a part of the force field of those who will accept it and call it forth to expand this light in their own worlds. And the purpose is clear. It is to understand all of the strands of light substance that has hitherto been woven into the substance of your mental body and feeling worlds, that is worthy of consecration to the sacred fire element, that bears the earmarks of St. Germain and the stamp of ascended master love. Such is your God identity, the immortal garments of heaven, which can never be requalified by human substance, but will forever be that which they are. This cannot be moved. This cannot be changed. It is the changeless quality of light, and never will ever be a part of mankind's human creation. And yet, I say, that precious human creation, and you may wonder as I speak, must itself, because it is composed of energy from God's heart, be set free to return to the great central sun for repolarization. Too long has it borne the stamp of that which is imperfect. Too long has it caused mankind, through the wrong action of human creation, to suffer the results of returning discord and recurring karmic situations. Now let the back of this be broken by holy truth, and let men extol that virtue which is of God. You have no right to, blessed ones, condemn or to criticize one another. You are not judges of one another, but you are rather beings of light who, like the flowers of the earth, ought to drink in the radiance of the solar deity and rejoice and bask in the purity of your God design. Then, as you breathe the fragrance of this forth into space, as the myrtle and as the ivy that graces the halls of learning of many of the universities of the world, so you will be gracing a mighty stone tower, but a stone tower whose stones are white and pure and holy and good. For within them is the understanding of God, not based on the mere accretion of mankind's outer knowledge, but based upon the eternal law of the ages, which gave birth to all outer material form, and precedes and transcends all that outer wisdom which mankind do extol and esteem so highly. For without the wisdom of God, and without the power of that wisdom brought forth in the heart of man, it would be like man without the feminine ray, or the feminine ray without the anchoring and positing of the masculine ray. Therefore I say, this hour, in memory of holy illumination, and in memory of my own beloved consort, let us glorify God in his androgynous nature. In both male and female, let us glorify God in the perfect balance of God's identity, the purity of that which is above all outer concepts regarding the use of sex force, but which is indeed centered in the fragrance released from the heart of God, which consecrates and consoles the universe in all of its being, and draws it up through the measureless spheres of light to a place where density is not, and fragrance is, and celestial wonder fills the heart with such a touch that all of the universe seems but a part of the all, and the all but the part. O precious ones, you must understand that each heartbeat which you feel within your own being is the voice of God sustaining your life, and that as these heartbeats continue their ceaseless flow, it is the throbbing of the very body of God within you, and you are his offspring. You are the children of his longing and of his heart, for he yearns to draw you into himself until you may become the illustrious golden beings of the golden age that he sees you as. And so, as a cosmic mother, I draw then the strands of holy substance, woven of all the illustrious thoughts you have ever thought, into a wondrous form and matrix, desiring to impart this to you in all of its tangible reality, and to ask that all that is not light within you, the substance of the psychic, the substance of mankind's own unregenerate energies, be returned to the great primal substance, and you be cut free from all of that. I therefore direct in the holy name of God that the angels of goodwill from El Moria's heart that came forth this evening last will now perform a blue flame action of illumination's flame, directed by the peace of God, charged with the power of the Elohim of peace and the Elohim of purity, to give to all who will receive it the full action of the great beings of cosmic purity, even from the band of Serapis, so that mankind may enter in to the purification of the white stone, which no man knoweth saving he who hath received it. But I speak to you today to illumine you in a small portion, considering its meaning. You know, blessed ones, that every one of the cells of your body and being is actually wrought by God design. And in the wondrous shape of these cells, there is builded a certain spiritual energy. Now I would like to tell you that these cells are capable of change, and they can themselves be changed from glory unto glory, even as by the Spirit of the Lord. Step by step you can be raised, therefore, into your ascension while yet occupying this mortal coil and holding an anchor point here in human form. It is necessary then that men realize that their every thought, their every deed, their every act is itself either contributing to the holy manifestation of the purification of the cells of their very being, or the continuing in a state of vacillation or degeneration, which is opposed to the regeneration of the Christ. Let all who will then hear our word, and let all who will accept this golden flame of illumination from the God Meru's heart, for his love is very great, and his love cannot be measured as men count love. And I say to you, let all of the youth of the world be given a greater example than ever before in the lives of those of you who are the hearers of my word, and those who are the doers as well. But I hope that all will be doers, and I hope that this word will go forth unto the ends of the earth, that the youth of this world, driven by the paltry goals that are laid before them in the outer, will recognize the transcendence of the inner life of the Spirit, and as the saints and sages of old who elected to pursue supernal goals will themselves turn from the tremendous desecrating action of the senses to the illuminating action of Christ's goals. These immortal goals are not worthy to even be compared with that which mankind call a goal. This that they call a goal is a desecration of all the purposes of heaven. And I speak this not in condemnation, but in affirmation of the wonders which the mind of God has prepared. For upon many systems of worlds there are youthful beings in manifestation who testify in the radiance of their own outpicturing to the great truth which I here affirm before you. Most gracious ladies and gentlemen, in the name of the feminine ray, in the name of the god Meru, in the name of your own mighty I Am presence, I thank you for your gracious attention. I thank you for the sincerity of your hearts. I thank you for those resolutions formulated within the temple of your being as you heard me speak. And I pray that these resolutions may not go without accomplishment. Thank you. May God bless you and sustain his light within the temple of your being forever. Truth alone can endure. All error must fall of its own weight and density. Good afternoon.